My first hearing about Tommy Lister was, or people know him as Debo or Zeus. My first hearing about him when I was going to Junior High School. Walton Junior High School over there off of Greenleaf and Central in Compton, and one of the my schoolmates, he was from a gang, and he told me, he was like, hey, the big homie, he about to be in wrestling. He gonna be on WWF. Back then they called it WWF and not WWE. And he was like, his name is Zeus, but that's the big homie from the hood. You know, look out for him. And at that time, he wasn't in wrestling at that time. So sure enough, we saw Tommy Lister in wrestling. Saw Tiny in wrestling. That was cool. As time went on, I know I watched because I'm like, wow, you got somebody from the hood in wrestling, someone who's been through struggles that we've been through, who knows how life is in the same area where we're growing up and we're dealing with stuff we're dealing with. Now you understand, this is what I'm talking about right now. This had to be like late 80s. If I was like in the seventh grade, I'm like 13. So I guess that's late 80s, something like that. Maybe 90, something like that. But I'm giving away my age, you know what I'm saying? But somebody from the hood has made it, you know. So all through all the violence, all the shooting, carjacking, we saw somebody that was doing something besides rapping, somebody that was doing something besides carjacking, besides stealing cars, besides selling dope. We saw somebody that was doing something different. So we watched him on wrestling. He's competing with, the white folks. He's up there doing something different. He got so big, he was even wrestling Hulk Hogan. And then, I thought that was cool at the time. And then later on in 1995 or 94, somewhere around there, he came up to Compton High School when I was going to Compton High School, and and I understand he went to Compton High School also, so he actually came back to Compton and talked to the kids the young adults at the high school where he attended. And I remember that, and I thought that was really cool. I think he was probably about 35, 36 at that time, and I thought that was really cool. Had an assembly in the had an assembly in the auditorium, and he was there. I can still see him in my head, giving his talk, and he was telling us, that nothing comes without hard work. He was telling us how he made it in the WWF, but he got too big, and that's why they kind of slowed him down, and they end up, canceling him out. But he was always for the kids. He was always for positivity. So I thought that was cool. Then maybe later on in 2000, let me back up a little bit. I used to always see him also. Not always. I see him frequently in Compton while I'm rolling through Compton. I'll see him at car washes, just sitting there, all looking like that. Everybody knew who he was. I used to see him driving around in a gray Mercedes Benz. Should see him on the school bus in that Benz. Yeah. When I was coming home from school, I used to see him all the time. My neighborhood growing up used to see him with MC Ren. Him and MC Ren used to be picking up this chick in my neighborhood when we was younger. Used to see him back then too. Probably was around the same age, like maybe 15 or something like that. I should see him and Ren picking up some chick in a convertible. That was in a convertible Benz, picking her up. We thought that was cool because that's when NWA was cracking. We're like, oh, we signed Ren from NWA. Oh, you got Zeus down there, that was cool. Um, yeah. Then later on in like 2005, somewhere around there, I'm jogging on the beach in Long Beach, and this is just how cool uh, Tommy Tyner Lister was. Debo. I'm driving in no, I'm jogging in Long Beach on the beach over at Belmont Shores, and I see him and I'm like, hey, what's up, Tiny? He's like, hey, what's up, man? And then I, go to talk to him, and I went to thank him for the talk that he had at Compton High School when I was younger, because that actually motivated me and influenced me to stay out of trouble. Well, he asked me how I was doing right now. I was like, I'm doing cool. I'm about to move out of state. He was like, oh, okay. Then he said, what you doing moving out of state? So, I'm going to start some business out there. He was like, okay. So he had looked up to the balcony of one of the beachfront properties, like on the third or second story. I think it was like the second level. And he was like, it was a woman up there. And he was like, hey, come down. And he told me, he said, I want you to meet my wife. So she came down, and I was like, oh, that's cool, Because, you don't let somebody meet your wife if you don't trust them or you don't think they're cool. But, he'd probably beat my ass anyway. You know what I'm saying? But brought his wife down, and we both was talking. His wife, myself, and him, we all talking and stuff. It was real cool time. And I let him know I was starting up a group home out of state. He was like, oh, okay, well, you know what? He gave me his business card and said, hey, let me know when you get it started, and I'll come down and talk to the kids. Yeah, but that's another story. What happened after that? Unfortunately, I didn't get to hook up with them after that because that was some things that fell through on my end. But from my experience with Tommy Tiny Lister, Debo, Zeus, all these different characters he has been and the success he's had, my personal experience and being from LA, Compton, all that, and seeing him, that was my positive experience with Debo.